Making games is hard, like super duper hard. It's a mix of so many disciplines. A lot of us are self-taught, so we look at things online and we learn to do it by ourselves, and that's fine. Either find a team, or if you decide to do it solo, you need to find assets or learn new skills. You need art, audio, programming, good design, and it's really a hard hobby to do. Sure, you can make tiny games, it's easy. Well, it's easy. It's always dependent for who. You can make Snake and Pac-Man or whatever. But making games is hard. There's a ton of hurdles along the way. You get into a project, you lose motivation, you get stuck on a programming issue, or you don't know if your design is right, and you start pushing it, and you find out that, oh, maybe that's not as fun as I thought it would be, or I don't know how to fix this certain gameplay issue. I faced this personally, so either because of a lack of knowledge, or sometimes stuff outside of your control, like my PC would break down, or like I mentioned, you just lose motivation because you've been working on this project all alone for so long, or sometimes it's just a bad execution, so you start a project and you add a system and then another and another, and then you find out that for the gameplay that you want, it won't work, so you have to go back steps and then start over again, and that's kind of where it can be really demotivating, and you end up just dropping your project. So in my case, for instance, I've been developing games as a hobby for about 10 years at this point, I believe, and I can count the games I've actually released, which I would count as a success, maybe on a single hand. So I've dropped a ton of projects, platformers and puzzle games, projects that were too big, 3D games. I had a sort of Animal Crossing in space with robots. I dropped that. All kind of projects. I've really fallen into kind of that trap in the past few years of just starting project, and then you see the exciting new thing and you decide to give up. Well, maybe not give up always. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'll touch that project again later, you know. It's just stored away for later. Sometimes that's a lie. This year I really want to step out of that cage, step out of that trap of not releasing games. And I think one thing that needs to be focused on is that, yes, you shouldn't keep at a project if it's really too much. There's definitely truth in that. If you're way too overscoped, or you know, it's way ahead of your current skills and stuff like that, there's definitely valid reasons to drop a project, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way. I think we need finishing a project is so important for you to grow as a game developer, or whatever art or hobby that you have. Setting yourself a finish line and going to that finish line and be getting the relief of, all right, I did everything I wanted to achieve with this project. Now it can go in a box, in the finished box. I don't have to touch it again, and now I can be proud of it. So I think that's a very, very important step of a hobby or a game dev journey or whatever, to motivate you to then continue and keep on creating. like I mentioned, this year that's really my focus. Like I said, I'm nowhere near a game dev guru. I'm only making these videos for me, pretty much. They're the kind of steps that I'm trying to focus on to be able to achieve my goal of actually finishing a project. So what I learned from dropping so many projects, I tried to reflect back on that and see what could be improved. So the first thing is that you have to set the finish line for yourself. So set a goal as different objective when they do game dev, be it become rich, become famous, whatever. You just enjoy making games. Everyone has different reason. So I do a project. I think it's important that to set a goal. So what's the end goal of that project? So maybe it's just to show the family and friends. Maybe it's to release it on itch, taking part in a game jam, getting a Steam release. If it's released on Steam, what's the success goal? Do we want to sell 50 copies, 1,000 copies, 2,000 copies, whatever? Is it to win an award? That's starting to set the bar higher, but having a clear goal of when does this project end. So for me, I am an hobbyist, but I do hope to be able to put my game in front of people. So for me, that finish line this year for the different projects I'll tackle is an official Steam release. So that's, I think, is not too hard these days. Anybody can submit a game to Steam. You just pay them $100 and then you can get it on Steam. And once it's on Steam, I don't care. I want it on Steam. If it does $50, I don't even get my 100 back. I don't care. At least it's on Steam. People can go look it up, look what I do, and give feedback on it if they desire so. Second thing, 60% is good enough. A game is never going to be perfect. You can add a ton of stuff to it, new features, polish the art more, optimize it more, stuff like that. But at a certain point, we have to tell ourselves, all right, that's good enough. It's not my dream game. It's not the last game I'm gonna make in my life. I will make more games. They're gonna be better than this one. But for that to happen, I need to finish this project and release it. So 60% is good enough. It's fine if there's bugs. AAA games have bugs. It's fine if the design isn't perfect. Even big companies do mistakes, so you're gonna improve, and then on the next project, it's gonna be better. It's not the last game you'll make. It's not your dream game. It's not perfect. It's fine. Move on. The next thing, for me, I'm not working in a team. At least for 99% of my projects, I work on them totally alone. So sometimes it can be hard to motivate myself to work on things. I have a big passion for game development. I put a lot of hours into it, but sometimes it's not that I don't want to work on it. I just do different things. That's fine. You don't have to spend like 10 hours every day on a hobby project. That's completely crazy. Spend 1 hour, 2 hour every day, whatever you can muster and put into your game. But sometimes it's not even that you're not putting in the time to work on a project. Sometimes it's that there's that one task I need to do, and I just don't want to do it. Setting priorities for tasks and stuff like that is something that I really need to improve, I believe. To help keep accountable as well, setting set release date. So yes, it can be stressful, but at some point a project needs to end. So I don't want to work on the same game for 4 or 5 years. It's alright once I spent 6 months, whatever, a year on this project. It's good enough. I'll release it. So I have to plan ahead and say, all right, if I want this project to release in whatever, I'll say something in June 2025, then I need a plan to say, all right, on this month I'm working on options and menus and stuff like that, and then this next month I'm doing something else. So there has to be a plan. Keep yourself accountable. So for me, I've started using a social media a bit more because I completely dropped it, but now I'm slowly coming back, so telling people about my game, and that's kind of why I'm making this YouTube video. It's good if it can reach people and hopefully motivate you, but it's kind of it's also to make myself accountable. So if I share my progress, then work to have stuff to show. So that's one of the ways I think I can keep myself accountable. There's no actual trick. What I said I think is valid. At the end of the day, we're humans, and sometimes it's not gonna be fun, sometimes it's not gonna be all romance and bubblegum and whatever. Maybe some people makes you want to make you believe. Sometimes it's hard, it sucks, and it's really lame, but when you're really passionate about something, that's kind of what you have to go through, and that's what makes you different than people who don't. Is, all right, let's go, and I'm jumping into it. You just gotta put in the work. If you want to get in shape, there's no way around it. You have to go to the gym, and yeah, it's gonna suck, and sometimes you won't feel like doing it, but you have to if you want to achieve your goal. So same thing with game dev. Sometimes it's gonna suck, but you have to put in the work and stay focused and say, if you want to achieve what you set out. Last point, which I kind of always think about, is that what's the point of like making games and then just store it on your hard drive and never touch it again? That's really, I think, a disservice for indie community, be it gamers or developers. You spend time working on a project, something that maybe never nobody else ever had that idea for this project, and then you don't release it. If you're gonna make something and spend your time doing it, then I think you at least need to share it with the world and say, look, people, I spent time and I made this thing. There's really no point. Well, there's a point. If it's valid for you, again, it goes back to what I said about goals. You don't have to share your game if it's kind of your little Zen garden bonsai kind of thing, and you're just working at it for the complete fun of it. But I think at one point, as a creative, as a form of art, you have to share it, even if it's paid, or even if it's a paid game or whatever. If you work on it and nobody ever sees it, and that's kind of sad, isn't it? Or at least I find so. That's what I've been thinking lately with all my... I was looking at my itch page and all the prototype stuff and all the old games I made, like back in 2018, 2017, 2016, and I was like, man, if at least I had released it, people could go online and see that I made something. Now it's like it's not even there. So that's kind of sad. So that was kind of the mentality I want to give myself for this year. So it's stop dropping projects. yes, going in a new one is gonna be enticing, stuff gonna suck, you're gonna be demotivated, but this year, Sukhoi, that's me, you're gonna release a game. And not only one, you're gonna release at least 2 games. That's my message to myself. So yeah, I hope this can be helpful to maybe some other devs who are also feeling demotivated. It can be a very lonely journey. So hopefully my journey can help some of you. So again, the goal is stop dropping projects, and next week I'm gonna talk a bit more about what I'm working on.